Brought to you by our exclusive fabric partners. Be sure to look for their newest lines of fabric.
Hi, I'm June Dudley with Quiltmaker Magazine. Welcome to Quiltmaker's Block Network. Today I'm going to show you how to make Snowman Farm. It's a block I designed for Quiltmaker's 100 Blocks Volume 2, block number 103. To make Snowman Farm, you need a blue background, 3 assorted grains, and a white fabric. The cutting dimensions and everything you need to make the block can be seen on the right-hand side of your screen. If you need to write those down, you can pause your video. When I first started thinking about this block, I was thinking about snowmen and how I could make them look like paper dolls. And when I first started working on it, I actually fused fabric, folded it up, and tried to cut out my snowmen from folded fused fabric, and it was way too thick. And that wasn't going to work, but I realized I could do my pattern as paper dolls and use that to trace onto the fused fabric. So to make the pattern, you want a 5.5 by 12-inch piece of paper. You're going to fold that in half. You're going to fold both ends back. And then fold it again, bringing it to the inside so that you have your edges, 2 edges on the outside of your fold and your folds on the inside. Then you're going to take your snowman pattern and you're going to trace it on one side here. After you've traced it, your pattern will look like this. With your pattern folded up, you're just going to cut out your snowman like this. And you do want to extend the snowman's fingers, if you will, to the edge of the paper like this. After you have your snowman paper doll cut out, you can then use this pattern to trace onto your fused fabric. After you've cut out your snowman pattern, you can use that pattern then to trace onto your fusible webbing. And you'll see here that I've extended the ends of the snowman's fingers, if you will, to the very edge of the fusing so that that will be caught in seam allowance once it's on the finished block. And you're going to do the same thing with the fan folded paper, tracing your tree design onto one panel of the paper and cutting that out. After you cut out your trees, you'll see you actually have 2 patterns. You've got one with 3 complete trees and 2 half trees, and one with 4 trees. So you do want to cut these out carefully along the edges so that you can use both patterns. And you will trace these onto fusible web as well. And after you trace one, what you really want to do here again is extend the points off to the edges. And if your trunk is at the bottom, you can extend there as well. After you trace 1/2, then you can just use the second pattern to trace the bottom of the tree trunks. Next, you're going to fuse your tree pattern to a green strip. You'll end up with 3 sets of trees and 1 set of snowmen. After you have fused the pattern to your fabric, you're going to cut out, and again, cut carefully between the trees so that you could use both sides of the trees. When I'm cutting fusing, I really like these large-handled, long-bladed, serrated scissors. They're just very easy to make those good, clean cuts on fusible. And so here you'll see I have my rows of trees all cut and ready to use. And the secret here is that as you make a set for 1 block, you actually end up with enough to make 2 blocks. On your blue background, you're going to use a removable marker or a chalk pencil, and you're going to draw a line down the center of the background. You're going to draw another line 5.5 inches from the top, and then 2 more lines 2.25 inches from each other, and those are going to give you the guidelines you need to place your snowmen and your trees. So using those guidelines, here's the bottom and here's the center. You're going to place your first row of trees in place and you're going to fuse those down. And then I like to drop my feed dogs and stitch with a free motion stitch right inside the edge of the tree all the way around. And I like to do them one row at a time so that I've got everything secure here before I add the next one. Here's the second row of trees. And again, I use the center mark, and now I've got them offset from the previous one. And after stitching the second one down, I would add the third row of trees. Again, using the center marks on that guideline. I would stitch that in place, and then here come my snowmen. And again, you'll see how the edges of the trees and the snowmen are going right off the background, and that will help catch them into the seam allowance on the sides. After you've completed the applique stitches, center the applique and trim the block to 12.5 inches to complete your Snowman Farm block. Here's a setting that will turn this block, or any 12-inch block, into a Christmas tree skirt. You'll make 8 blocks that finish at 12 inches, cut one center square at 24.5 inches, from one square of 18.25 inch, cut 4 triangles by cutting along both diagonals for the corners. After quilting, you can cut an 8-inch circle in the center and cut from one corner to the center. Prepare bias binding to apply around the outside edges, along both cut edges and the inner circle to complete your Christmas tree skirt. So earlier this season, I've shown you quilts from a round robin exchange that I participated in. This time I get to show you my quilt from this exchange, where I adapted Snowman Farm for the center block. The trees in the snowman are the same size as the original pattern, but here I've scattered them on a larger background. And the other thing I did for this round robin is that I did more of a scribble stitch around the outside edges of the snowman. So I used a contrasting black thread, dropped my feed dogs, and went around 3 or 4 times to really give the snowman definition. On the trees, I still had my feed dogs dropped, but now I had my zigzag stitch set, and I was scribble stitching along the edges to cover all of them to help mimic the evergreen branches. Then I sent my center block off to my friends, and this is the amazing top I got back. Didn't they do a good job? On the outer border, Joni used the border blocks from Polar Patch, a pattern in Quiltmaker's November-December 11 issue. And she adapted Margie Ulry's block, number 397, Just Chillin', to make the penguins in the outer corners. I just love what everybody did on this top for me. And that's how you make Snowman Farm. I hope that inspires you to make your own block and play with it a little bit, whether you make a tree skirt or participate in your own round robin. You'll find Snowman Farm and 99 other amazing blocks in Quiltmaker's 100 Blocks Volume 2. Hope to see you again soon at Quiltmaker's Block Network. And it's how you mix it.